Happy Easter, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great Sunday. I have 2 DIYs for you guys to try today. So this week I wanted to use things that I already had, and I have so much macrame cord, so I thought I'd use that in today's video. And I also had 3 leftover macrame leaves from a project from like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I made a macrame pendant feather light. If you are interested in that, you guys can go check that video out on my channel. So today's DIYs are really simple. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, please remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. All right, so let's get started. For these feather macrame keychains, I'm using 4mm macrame cord, and I'm starting off by cutting a 10-inch piece, which is going to be the middle of my feather. Then cut 12 more pieces of macrame measuring 5 inches. Once all of your pieces are cut, you're going to fold the 10-inch cord in half and tape it down on the loop side end. Then grab a 5-inch piece of cord, fold it in half, and place it underneath of that main cord like you see here. Then grab another piece of cord, and then you're going to also fold it in half, take the ends, put them through the loop, and then take the ends of the one that was already underneath of the cord and put them also through the loop as you see here, pull, and then you can slide it up. For the next knot, I am alternating directions, so I'm folding my cord in half and then putting it underneath of the main cord the opposite way. So the loop is now facing to the left, and I'm placing the ends through the loops like the previous one. And then you're going to repeat this process until you use up all of your 12 cords. Once all of your cords are attached, I recommend unraveling each cord by hand because it makes it easier when you're fraying the macrame with a comb leader. Once you're done unraveling by hand, you can go in with your comb or a dog brush to fray all of your macrame so that it's nice and neat, making sure to brush to the sides and down. Then you're going to need some very sharp scissors to give this macrame a trim and make it look like a feather. And believe me when I say you need sharp scissors or shears, because I learned this the hard way. It is so hard to cut macrame with regular scissors. So I ended up making 3 of these macrame feathers, and I'm going to show you how I dyed them next. So I ended up using this powder Rit Dye to dye my macrame feathers, and it is a little bit confusing. I think if you use the liquid one, it's a little more straightforward. But if you're using the powder, I think the directions are a little bit confusing because it gives you directions for 3 gallons of water and for a pound of fabric, and I really only need a little bit. So what I ended up doing is grabbing a container where my macrame feather would fit into, and then I sprinkled the powder in the container until the bottom was basically covered, and then I filled my container about halfway up with boiling water. And then I added some salt because the directions call for that. So I ended up adding like 2 teaspoons of salt into my mix. And full transparency here, I don't know if these proportions are correct. All I know is that my macrame feathers turned out great. I'm not even sure exactly what the salt is for, but if you're using cotton materials, the instructions do say you need to use it. So then I used a popsicle stick to mix my dye bath and make sure that everything was nice and dissolved. And then once it was ready, I put my macrame feather into the clean water first to wet it and then into the dye bath. After about 15 minutes, I took my macrame and I rinsed it in the sink until the water ran clear. And if you're using your sink like me, make sure you clean up the sink right away. I don't know if this dye will stay on your sink permanently, but it was actually pretty hard to take off even after just like a couple minutes. So I used some baking soda and dish soap to clean everything up. And then I used paper towels to pat the macrame dry. So I did the same dyeing process for the other two macrame feathers in this really pretty purple and petal pink colors. And if you're impatient like me, you can use a blow dryer to blow everything dry, or you could just leave them overnight until they're dry naturally. So once your macrame leaves are completely dry, you can go in with a comb and make sure that everything is nice and neat, and then you can give it one final trim. And make sure your macrame feathers look exactly how you want them to look before spraying them with fabric stiffener. The fabric stiffener will help these macrame feathers keep their shape while they're on your keys, or if you're using it as a bag clip, they'll last for a long time. And I do recommend using this, otherwise the macrame gets shaggy and raggedy and not in a good way. So once the fabric stiffener has dried, you can go ahead and put them on keychains. I'm using these really pretty gold ones that I got from Michaels, and I think that the gold and these colors work so well together and they look so cute. So these are the 3 macrame leaves that I had left over from my macrame leaf pendant light, and I decided to make a wall hanging out of it using this wooden dowel. So the first thing I did was stain my wooden dowel in this walnut color that I got at the Dollar General for like $6. So the can doesn't come with directions on staining, but please make sure you wear rubber gloves and that you sand your wooden dowel before applying the stain. I applied 2 coats with drying time in between. You can use just a cotton rag to apply the stain, and also make sure that you're doing this in a well ventilated area. So I went to like 3 different stores and I could not find rubber gloves. So I did my best to not touch the wood stain. I used a piece of napkin to try and avoid that. So, and then I also washed my hands immediately after, but if you can find gloves, please use some gloves. So as you can see here, I'm basically just wiping the stain onto my wooden dowel going with the grain, and then I let it dry overnight. All right, so once your wooden dowel is ready and dry, it's time to put this wall hanging together. So this is really quite simple. I just kind of knotted everything together. I'll just let this footage roll so you can see how I did it. I also used some hot glue to just make sure that the macrame cord didn't like move on me. And you'll also see that I use hot glue wherever I cut the macrame so that the knots don't come undone. So the last thing you want to do here is use some hot glue to secure all of the little knots and ends that you cut. I'm using a popsicle stick to spread the glue out just to make sure everything is nice and secure. That is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And again, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Until next week, everyone. Bye. Macrame, pendant, what? Macrame, no, I don't want to reuse. Okay. 2 DIYs. DIYs? Did I say DUIs? I have two DIYs.